how's it going? In today's video, we're going to talk about some mobile rigs and the equipment that I brought to set up in an Airbnb to work for a week. So my wife and I are here in Rochester as I'm being treated at Mayo Clinic, and there is some tracking and writing that I needed to do this week. And this is the rig that I brought with me to set up, and we're going to kind of talk about what things you might want to use if you're in a similar situation, being able to bring something that's portable, that you can record and practice with, but what may not be necessary in all situations. So as you can see in the B-roll, I've just set up on the kitchen table here, and essentially the rig is all about the Apollo Twin. So my interface, the universal audio stuff, if you don't know, they have incredible technology, DSP that works inside of the interface here. But most importantly, it is the most real feeling amp plug-in type of situation that I've ever experienced. Because of the real-time tracking, there is no latency, and the input, the high-Z input, can change what the impedance load looks like going in, and so it feels a lot more like an amp, and it can take pedals, which I haven't really found any other amp plug-in that really takes pedals at all. And so I've got my PRS here, and then I brought my Fly Rig board that we built here on this channel early on, and I'm going straight in to the high-Z input on this Apollo Twin into Logic Pro. Now, the pedal board for me is a big part of the stuff that I'm working on writing. Having some sounds to be able to dial up that are really going to inform the song is really important. So that was kind of a must for me. However, if this was more of a just being able to kind of woodshed and practice, the pedal board would be totally unnecessary, and just bringing the interface and the laptop would be incredibly sufficient to be able to practice. It is a really great sound. Being able to change the cabs and the rooms gives you a really studio quality tone to be able to practice with. And I've definitely used this to track, for paid gigs before, and so it is incredible. But to practice, you kind of have everything at your fingertips. But just being able to plug in, dial up a really good sound, and go is important. Now, the other thing you'll see is my in-ears, which allows me to practice and track kind of later at night while my wife is working or asleep. And that's a big part. Bringing something like a little practice amp could be good in certain situations, but when you're in a hotel room, sometimes that's not always an option. Or an Airbnb even like this, where you've got multiple rooms. Bringing an amp isn't always the best thing because of just the noise. Being able to turn it up to where even you can hear it means other people can hear it. But most importantly, it's about being able to get what you need to accomplish done. So for me, that was both writing and tracking some, and so having this level of quality in being able to just plug into the Apollo and dial up a real sound, and then have my pedals at my feet the same way it is set up at my studio at home, where my main board is set up under the desk, always at my feet, kind of ready to go. This allows me to have that easy access, dial up what I need, but it's all silent, and it's fairly compact, just kind of in this little corner here. All right, so let's run through some of the sounds on this setup. So this is just the amp. This is the Fuchs ODS, and I've got a little bit of reverb and a little bit of delay from the amp plug-in here, set fairly clean. So pretty clean. I'll kick on the Ultraphonics Mark II. So you can hear there's a lot of dynamic range. And again, like I said, the Apollo really feels like an amp. So it'll clean up. And I know that's the pedal, and the amp will do the same thing. So if we go and change this amp sound to a slightly dirtier sound. So here's the dirtier sound, and it still really cleans up and has all those dynamics. And even when you push it with a boost in front, it still really reacts a lot like an amp for being a plug-in. So you've got a lot of dynamic range. You've got a lot of versatility because you can throw other plug-ins before and after it. But also it's really quick to dial up a really good sound to get you started, especially if you're just woodshedding, working on one particular technique or getting ready, for a handful of dates. This is a great way to still be productive, not make really any noise, and be mobile for when you're out of town. So I definitely highly recommend finding something that's really quick to dial up a good sound, like we've talked about before. And that's something that you can use really hand in hand with whatever DAW that you use, because recording your practices, I think is really helpful, especially if you're trying to nail down certain techniques, certain feels. Being able to go back and listen to it for reference is really easy to do with a setup like this, where you can plug into your computer. That's where your tone is coming from. And then you can go back and kind of listen to it, and especially for writing while you're on the road and still being productive. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video, kind of talking through my rig that I brought out of town to work for a week. It's kind of mobile and gives me plenty of options for writing and being able to track remotely, being out of town for the week, and especially for something like healthcare, it's not really something that you can totally work around. And so being able to be productive still is pretty key. Life gets crazy, but you still got to work. So if this is the kind of content that you enjoy, then please ask that you like and subscribe to this new YouTube channel, share it with others who would enjoy this kind of content. And until next time, I've been Colin. To be able to be is a really use really now we're gonna look at intertwined with whatever DAW